Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of They Say. I am your host, Allison McFarlane, founder and CEO of Allison McFarlane Inc. And I am so excited that you guys decided to join me today with someone that I deeply admire. And she comes with so many high esteem and high referrals. So I'm excited that I was able to finally get her on here and just kind of not it. She's only been in Houston, what, about a year now, right, Shanté?
Year and a half.
Okay, so she's only been in Houston about a year and a half. So I'm excited to introduce her to my audience, and then her audience already knows her. So I'm excited that she said yes to me. So Shanté, please tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Shanté, and I am in Houston now. I moved here last year. Was it last year? It was last year, or like a year and a half ago, with my husband and my kids and our dog B. We moved here from St. Louis, and actually moved here just for a change of pace. And so that's how I got to Houston.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are excited to have you. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because you are an operational genius. You come with such a great background in operational excellence. And as we were talking the other day, I don't know how many small business owners and just people, even in corporate America,
Mhm.
don't really like love operations. Like I told you personally, I'm horrible at operations. Like if it's meant for me to do something in operations, we're in trouble. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm excited to have you, because this is such an important conversation and an intentional conversation, especially if we're talking about growing and scaling and really going to that next level in your corporation. So I just love for you to kind of share your story to what got you to this point.
Yeah, so I've been working for a very long time. And I actually started out as an insurance salesperson. So this is going to age me. So back in the day, I used to call people in the white pages.
Oh, come on.
So I would just go down the white pages and call. And I was in St. Louis at the time, and it was like blues hockey season. So I got yelled at a lot. So I have experience cold calling. And then I transitioned into just regular insurance sales. And then from there, I worked my way up to work in a call center, which I say work my way up to work in a call center because it takes some work to talk to people all day, every day. So that is definitely a
Can be
task.
exhausting. So
It
I
is
commend you.
mentally exhausting. But from there, I worked my way up. I was a trainer. I created the training for the department. Then I became a supervisor, and I had over 20 direct reports.
Wow.
That was kind of a thing there. And then my most recent corporate experience was I worked at the Economist newspaper. I was their operations manager. And so I helped the sites in New York, India, Wales, the UK. And then prior to my departure, we had a site in the Philippines.
Wow. Wow. So global operational experience. I love it.
Mhm.
So, how have you seen the trends change? Because you've been at this for a while. So, what would you say that you've seen some of the biggest changes in the operational space?
I think the biggest changes is the global aspect of it. Just being aware that you can get resources from another country. You can hire a team that's on a completely another continent. I think that's probably one of the biggest changes. As long with AI,
Okay.
that's made things so much easier for everybody.
So
Um,
let's talk about both, because I feel
mhm,
like those are two topics that are, one is very sensitive. So AI people are like scared of, which I don't think they
mhm,
should be. And
mhm.
then the fact that you can get your higher outsourcing outside of the country. So kind of tell us more about what that looks like.
Yeah, so one of the things I did like about my position at The Economist was that I had to work with people on a global scale. I think it really gives you a better worldview because you learn about their culture, you learn about their working habits. I would say Americans have different working habits than maybe some in India.
Mhm.
So you have to learn how to work with those different demographics and also understand them to make them successful, right?
Okay.
Because no one wants to work and be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
So as a leader, I think it's just really important. And there's a cost saving sometimes, right? So that's why corporations sometimes outsource their help to like the Philippines or another country because there's a cost savings to that. So I think especially as entrepreneurs, we really need to appreciate, like, we can hire help in these other countries, and it may be a cost savings, but it will not affect your business in a bad way.
Okay. So when you say it may be a cost savings, and as an entrepreneur, we should consider it. So as you're helping your clients kind of figure out their strategic plan,
Mhm.
kind of walk me through what that would look like if we do incorporate somebody out of another country.
Well, the first thing I do is I make sure they need to hire this person,
Okay.
right? Because whoever you're hiring, let's say you're hiring a VA, an executive assistant, you're onboarding another manager, a team member, you need to know why you're hiring this person. Like, how's this person fit into your strategy,
Mhm.
right? So once we do that, then we come up with a job description for them, like what exactly we need for them to do. And then we start the hiring process. So depending on the person, we can open that up as wide or as narrow as you want. So if you just want someone in the US in the central time zone,
Yeah.
that's what we go for. But
Okay.
if you're open to using someone maybe in Kenya or Nigeria, I've hired people
Wow.
from Kenya or Nigeria. If you're open to that and you're able to deal with the time zone, then we open it up to them. What we'll do with that is make sure have a test for their English grammar, their
Mhm.
written and their spoken communication
Okay, so you make sure that they can write and communicate effectively, which is important, right?
in
Especially,
English, right?
okay,
Hmm.
that's important to know, and that's good to know. So I didn't even know that. So that's actually that's very informative. So thank you for
Hmm.
sharing that. So when you think of the science, so I call this the science of operational success. So that is a very broad title,
Hmm.
but I feel like operations can be very broad.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur yourself who came out of corporate, what has been some of the challenges that you have faced, Shanté?
Some of the challenges are keeping it simple, right? Especially
Yeah.
when you're starting out, you want to make sure you keep it simple. And some of my challenges is like I have the super grand vision of, of life and I want to start everything right now, right? But
Yes.
that's not what operations is about.
Okay.
Operations is about having a plan and a roadmap. Once you hit these milestones, then you can do other things. So that's probably been my biggest challenge, just like wanting to do everything at once, um, and not following my own roadmap that I made.
So how do you hold yourself accountable, especially as an entrepreneur?
So how I hold myself accountable is I meet with other entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So we may meet for lunch or dinner, and I kind of have an accountability session with them. Actually, my family has been very pivotal.
Okay.
My husband has been super. He's a sales guy.
Okay.
He's like, how
Perfect.
many calls you got today? You know, that's my husband.
But you
So
need that. My daughter is that for me, so I get it.
yeah, yeah. So my family actually, they're the ones that keep me accountable.
That's great. That's
Mhm.
great. So, talk to me about coming out of corporate America and
Mm.
like just going full-time entrepreneur. Like, how has that transition been for you as an individual? Not so much as the business owner, but Shanté, the individual.
Mm. As an individual, I would say it's been challenging.
Mhm.
Because when my experience is when I came out of corporate, um, I didn't feel like I had control over myself, right?
Mhm.
I just felt like I always had to ask for approval.
Yeah.
At a point, I just felt like I was asking for approval just to think a thought.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, as you know, we don't have time for that, right?
You just gotta.
So it's necessary up. So that was probably my biggest adjustment. Also realizing that it's me. This is me. I don't need anyone's permission. I can pretty much do whatever I want. Um, so that was probably the biggest challenge. Just like, oh, can I do that? Should I reach out to that person? Should I do this LinkedIn post? I don't know. You know, should I wear this on LinkedIn? All of that. That was probably my biggest challenge.
But those are real challenges that
Hmm.
I don't think we actually discuss because it is a switch of the mind and you got to
Hmm.
keep switching it.
Yeah.
'Cause what, 20 something years, 20 plus years in corporate, same
Mhm.
here. Having those conversations, like you said, like I appreciate your honesty in that because that's a conversation I have with myself daily. Like if I'm doing something, oh my God, is this okay to do?
Right.
And then you're like, oh my God, I can totally do this.
Right.
So with me, it's kind of like, okay, Allison, what is my brand holds me accountable. What do you
Mhm.
want your brand to be? So just
Mhm.
being accountable to that. But you're absolutely correct. Like when you get to take those limitations off, it can be dangerous, but it's also liberating.
Yes, very liberating. Yes.
Yes. So I want you to speak more to that being, so you're a global leader.
Mhm.
So how has it been getting business from other countries and really helping people scale up and grow? Like tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think getting business from anywhere is the same, right? So you have to have these conversations. And so as I have my leads, I'm making sure I'm reaching out to these people in the other countries. I do have some connections. And what for me, it's making them understand, yes, I can work with you. I have this experience. I understand your time zone. I'm definitely a morning person.
Okay.
So like UK, those hours I'm good. Like, cause I could be up at 6, right? I am
Okay.
up at 6. The
Okay.
question is, am I logged into my computer or not?
Okay.
And so the biggest thing is making sure the time zone, we can work within their time zone to get their work done.
Okay. So working in their time zone and getting their work done. So
Mhm.
what has been some of the challenges that you see though working with clients in the international space?
So some of the challenges I would say, I don't have that many, but I would say getting us on a cohesive schedule,
Okay.
right?
Like a time.
Yeah, a
Okay.
cohesive time, a cohesive schedule, and then also their team members, adjusting their team members, because when I come on, they may meet like later in the day, and I may need to push it up a little, or vice versa.
So so just being able, so a couple things that I hear that you're saying that are really great is the importance of building that relationships.
Hmm.
So you've been able to cultivate relationships. It sounds like long term. These are
Hmm.
not new relationships. So because of that, you've been able to leverage those relationships to help you get business.
Hmm.
So what has taught you how to manage relationships, Shanté, and even get them? Because that's an art. That's an art.
I
That's
don't know. I am such a people person. I mean, I don't say this like lightly for real though, but
okay.
I generally like people.
Okay.
I generally do, yeah. So, yeah. But I think I've always been able to motivate people
Okay.
in a way that was peaceful and encouraging and empowering. Empowering. I used to be a personal trainer.
Really?
Yeah, I
That's
used to be a
cool.
personal trainer. So whether you wanted to lose weight, I had some seniors that just needed mobility help. Maybe it's just you getting out and walking. Like whatever my client wanted to do, I helped them do that. And
Okay.
I got such pleasure when they were successful at it. Like I didn't see it was me helping them. I was just so happy they could see it in themselves to be successful. So I think that's one of the ways I approach my people relationship. Like
Yes.
I always say, like, if you win, I win, we win, right?
Yes.
So if you as my client win, of course I win because you're my client, but
Right.
also we as a bigger community win. And that's really important to me.
So how do you leverage making sure you don't get burnt out by the neediness of those relationships? Because sometimes people can be very, very needy. So how do you
Mhm.
get them to a point where they're more self-sufficient?
Well, that's a great question. So I have to manage my life in a way that I don't get burnt out on work, on relationships. And so what I do is in these spaces I'm creating these relationships, I'm creating these conversations that's saying, you know what, I'm here for you whenever you need me, but there may be times I need to step back. Most people know my oldest, well, not my oldest, my youngest daughter has had some struggles with her mental health and
Yeah.
some suicide attempts. Thank God she's good. She's good.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
But it's still a challenge. But what that taught me, I wasn't, my life wasn't set this way when it first started.
Okay.
But what would happen was there'll be a week or two where like my life would stop and I would have to help her. And then in helping her, I have to help myself.
Mhm.
So I've built my life to the point, if I have to step away, I will, I can step away. And the people in my network know that it's nothing personal. If I have a job to do, I'm still going to get it done. Um, but I've learned to create my life and my business in that realm.
So that's really, really important. And thank God your baby girl is great.
Mhm.
Um, But let's unpack that a little bit more, because as a single mom and a mom, and I'm pretty sure there's other parents on here,
Mhm,
it is a challenge. And to
mhm,
hear you openly talk about the struggles of a child that struggles with mental health and
mhm,
being open and honest of that, I don't know if we're always in safe spaces where we can just totally be transparent like that.
mhm.
So, how have you cultivated a space where you have that community around you where you can just be honest about, okay, this is what's going on, this is where I'm at?
You know what? I think I had to. It was like for her survival and my survival, I just had to tell people, look, this is it. This is what we're going through. Especially sometimes in our community,
Mhm.
it's not, people don't understand it sometimes.
Right.
I remember a lot of people are like, well, did you pray enough for her? Or, you shouldn't have moved to that neighborhood. You need to be around, some more Black people. But my survival is based on me being honest
Mhm.
with people about mental health,
Yes, ma'am.
especially in the Black community.
Yes, ma'am.
And my daughter's survival, my daughter's survival is based on me speaking out when I can about it.
That's awesome. And I commend you for that, because that is something that is kind of shunned in our community.
Hmm.
And I don't think, and I think, and I don't think it's a lack of people not wanting to know, but oftentimes I feel like we as a people don't always dig deeper to find the why. We just want to take
Right,
what people say as
right,
face value,
right.
and we don't always challenge stuff. And I get in trouble for challenging too much, but
Hmm.
that's just who I am.
Hmm.
And I feel like you can understand that.
Yeah, I got you. Yep, same.
So yeah, so I can appreciate that you can appreciate that. But
Hmm.
now, with the challenges of your daughter and just building out your practice and just really keeping the main thing, which is your
Hmm.
family, right? How
Hmm.
has that been for you?
Um, so with that in the background, my business is set
Okay.
to where I can be super duper successful. I'm successful now, but I can
Yes.
be super duper successful because I put those systems in place, right?
Let's talk
So
about those systems, girl.
yeah, I have those systems in place. If anyone's on here and I onboard you, like it's a smooth transition.
Okay.
We communicate in Slack or whatever you need. We have a CRM. So right now I have these systems in place that make my life easier, um, and make me I'm still efficient. And then also makes my relationship with my client easier.
So that's important. So you talked about a CRM, you talked about Slack. So let's kind of unpack what those are for those individuals that have no idea what Slack is or what a CRM is.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
tell
so
us.
so Slack is just an internal like communication system. I used it in my corporate work, and so I like it because you can set channels for certain people to be in these conversations. You can share documents. Sometimes it's not an email isn't necessary, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it may be I want to send you, hey, how are you feeling today? Is everything good? And I would send you that in Slack, right?
Okay.
Instead of like a whole email.
Yes.
So Slack sometimes make the conversation easier. And then with Slack, everything's saved, right? So we can
Ooh.
go back and see whatever was going on. So a CRM is a client or customer relationship management system.
Mhm.
And basically, that's where you keep all your your prospects, your leads. That's where you keep all their information. And so that way, all their information's in one place. Depending on what system you have, you email your customers from there. You can text them from there. But the main thing is all the information is one place. So if you ever have to do like a market segment or specific newsletters, like that CRM is going to help you do that, and it really helps you manage your relationship with your client.
So if I'm a small business just starting out, like how would you recommend me finding the best solution to really get me going? Because most of us think, like I'm like you, I think very grand. Like I
Hmm.
have to will myself in sometimes because I want to take the whole elephant. And they tell me, Allison, you got to take it one bite at a time. And I'm like, no, just give it all to me and we'll figure it out.
It would be based on your needs, right? So you
Okay.
need to write down like whatever your business is. So you need to write down, this is my business, like this is how I onboard my clients. This is the experience I would like for them to have. And then you're gonna kind of have to Google it because there's so many, and
Right.
there's so many different price points.
Right.
So it really comes down to what you as a business owner need in your business. And I will say, when you purchase your CRM, you want to be future minded, like you were saying, right? So you want to purchase something where you can grow and you don't have to like move your data to another system.
Mm-hmm. So that's important because I think as oftentimes small business owners don't think future. They're not future focused.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me if you're in agreement with this, but I often tell my clients start from where you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll work our way to build out the operations and the different things that you feel like you need. But I think it's important to go think big when you're going out there because you have that time to build it out to be big.
Right.
So before all the clients come rushing in and all those different processes or different things come in. So would you fall into agreement with that?
I definitely agree. And another thing is like your standard operating procedures or your SOPs. Like as you're growing your business, when you're starting your business, that's the perfect time to write out your procedures, right? That's the perfect time to write your company culture. Like, what's your
Mhm.
culture? Like, what is it, right? So I know my company culture, and when I interview people, I tell them what it is, right? But like, have you documented that? Because you don't want to wait till you're in that growing phase, and now you have to go back and document all that information.
So when you speak of culture, because I love branding, that's my
Mhm.
jam, and marketing. So when you speak of culture, kind of unpack that for us, especially as a small business. We don't think we have a culture. We think I am just over here selling these juices, or I'm over here selling this soap. I'm just over
Mhm.
here selling stuff. And what culture are you talking about?
Well, I guess this is from me being in corporate. Like they always say, culture like funnels down from the top.
Yeah.
When you're your own business owner, you're the CEO. You are your culture. You set your culture, right? So I think as business owners, we are our culture. Like your brand, right? But what does your brand stand for, right? So what does I don't know about my brand, but what does my brand stand for, right? But what's my culture?
Right.
What's the culture in the company I want to cultivate? So as I'm hiring these people into my team and we're growing, they all understand like, I'm a mom, I'm a Black woman, right? I'm also a wife, right? I also like volunteering, right? So one big thing in my corporate culture, and I actually had a work day by myself at one of the homeless shelters.
Okay.
But volunteering is important to me. So I am the CEO and I am acting like I am the CEO of a large corporation, creating my company culture.
So Shantae, why is that important though? To like you just like to me, you just hit a home run. Like I could if I could give you a hug, I would right now because I think this is like these are like nuggets that people just don't understand. So tell me why that's important. Why are you having why are you taking yourself on a volunteer date and yours only you? Why is that important?
Because culture is so important to motivate your employees and to motivate your staff and to motivate your team, your clients and customers. Um, Without culture, they don't know what you stand for, right? People know what I stand for. In my company, you're going to know what I stand for. And also, culture is what will help your company survive in the bad times and the challenging times. You may have to have some tough conversations with your team. There may be a cash flow situation, right? But if you have built that culture of nurturing and empathy, because I'm a mom, I don't know, but if you have built that culture, it makes those conversations so much easier. Um, and to me, it's just so important. Like, what I stand for. I mean, I don't think anyone can question like what I believe in and what I stand for.
But I just want to commend you. Like you just made my whole day, just that along. Because it doesn't matter if you have one employee,
Mm.
you need to set the stage as though you are running a 7 to 8 figure business. You
Hmm.
owe that to yourself. And if you're doing anything less than that, you're not truly making that real investment. And
Right.
you're not investing in who you say you are.
Hmm.
And I love that. So I commend you for that.
Oh,
I
thanks.
commend you for that. No, because I'm serious. Being in banking for as long as I was, especially dealing with those entrepreneurs, sitting here with you right now, you made me want to cry because I don't think I've ever met many entrepreneurs that understood the importance of culture
Mm,
and how that can correlate. That can make you, that can make you go to, it can make you go to an 8 or 9 figure business.
mm-hmm.
Because if you have people holding on to the plow and you have your employees buy in, you don't have to do everything by yourself.
Right, right. And also your employees, they want to grow with you, right? They're happy, you know. Of course, you know, they'll say, well, you're getting a paycheck, but they're happy to get their paycheck. You know,
Right.
they're going to go above and beyond for you, just because you can. You know, I've had people work for me and they're like, oh, I want to work on this project. I was like, not off the clock, you not. No, we don't do that. Like, you don't work for me for free. Like, I don't believe in that. I never will. If you want to give me a free trial, I'm not accepting it. Like, what's your pay?
Mhm.
And that's culture, right?
Mhm.
So I just think it's like you said, it's so important that us as entrepreneurs, like, we understand that we set the culture right now.
Yes. And we have someone saying, I am loving all this information. I am too, Shay girl. Like, this is great. Like, I knew Shanté was going to bring it, but this is amazing because this is a conversation I have probably daily. Because I deal
Mhm.
with a lot of entrepreneurs that don't feel like they're getting the value they deserve, or they feel like they're being overlooked and they're not being celebrated for what they bring to the table. But what would you tell somebody like that?
Mm. I would tell them, like, why do you think that way? I mean, to be honest, when I left corporate, I mean, I've told you, I've just changed my rates so many times, it's absolutely ridiculous. Um, but I would just tell them, like, who are they?
So
Like,
these are entrepreneurs that I'm engaging who just,
okay.
but I want to be honest with you. I feel like they're engaged. Like, you just said something that I love. You changed your rates multiple times. So have I, right? Let's be
Mhm,
100% transparent. So have
mhm,
I. But
mhm,
I had to come to that hard, this like hard line in the sand that not everybody is my client.
mhm,
And I think that is a big thing when you're in the entrepreneur space. You want to help everybody, and your
mhm.
help might be you coming on they say, and them getting as many nuggets as they can get to from you from they say until they can truly afford your services.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true. And I think for what I do, you know, I can help anybody, but am I going to be a great value to like a very new business owner? I don't know. I don't believe I would. I'm more of a value to someone that has a team
Yes.
of at least 5 employees and making a certain revenue amount, because I can come in and manage that and help them implement things to grow that revenue or scale or whatever they need. But like you said, yeah, we can help everybody, but are we providing them with the right amount of value they need for the stage they're in their business?
Yes, and I think that's why entrepreneurs get frustrated. So that's what I've been trying to encourage people: be strategic, right?
Hmm.
We only have so much time in the day, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of great resources to help people scale up and get where they're going. But so you're not resentful or feeling angry or mistreated. Just be strategic with all your connections.
Right. Yeah.
And Ryan, one of my favorites, he said, culture is a great motivator. Ryan, say it again. We love it. Culture is a huge motivator. So I know, like you said, we talked about, I think me and you've had many conversations about pricing. So let's talk about that.
Hmm.
Let's share some of these conversations that we have had
Hmm.
about pricing. I'm shooting Shanté stuff. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this particular structure? And she's like, this is what you need to add. Take away, Allison. So what would you say is some of the things that you've kind of talked through with this pricing?
Yeah, so I think pricing, especially when we come out of corporate, goodness gracious, corporate, corporate, corporate. I think with pricing, it's understanding not only your value, but your worth, right?
Mm.
And I think when I first started this, I priced it to where everybody could afford what I do, right? But what I do, like I said, doesn't necessarily provide value to businesses at all levels. And so then I priced it on my value, right?
Mhm.
And my experience and my expertise. And I think a lot of times when people set their prices, they're not thinking about their expertise at all, right? They're thinking about, I don't know what they're thinking about, but they're like, I think when I first started, I was like, can people afford this? I want to make sure this is so affordable for
Yes.
people, like everybody signs up. But
Yes.
as you well know, that's not the case because people that see value in what you offer, they're willing to pay that value. And if it's too low, they're probably not going to engage. And for me, it was also being in rooms with people. When I first started, that charged so much more than I did. I was like, what? You charging what for what? And they were like, yeah, I'm charging this. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me get closer to you, right?
Right.
But it's being in those spaces with people that are already doing what I'm doing, and have the same expertise experience I have, and they're charging higher rates.
But see, that's important, right? So that's
Mhm.
important to be able to get in those rooms and get around people, so you can kind of make sure that you're priced right and that you're bringing, because what you're, even a little bit of the 30 minutes we've been on here, I can already think of 3 things I'm going to ask you and change an AMI and figure out what I need to do differently. So, and that, but see, that's the thing about understanding your value.
Mhm.
So we have a question. So as a new business owner, how should I approach should I approach the operational side of my business?
Mm. I would say as a new business owner, keep it simple,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of talked about the CRM,
Yeah.
right? The reason that's beneficial is because it helps you manage all of your clients' information. So I would say keep it simple. And I'm very people focused in my operations. So when I see a process or a procedure or like a client onboarding, I'm thinking as a customer or a client, how does this look to me? Like, is this flow working? Is it easy for me to connect with Shanté? Like,
Yeah.
is she making it very difficult? I got to jump through 10 million hoops. So just things like that. The main thing is you want to make sure you have a system in place where you can communicate with your clients and customers on a regular basis. Oh, and then another thing, make sure you get them email addresses, right? You
So
have
that's, so I want to wait, hold on, because you saved my life. So let me tell y'all, Shantae saved my life because she's like, Allison, you don't have an email list. I was like, I don't. She's like, you need one. And I was so grateful that she told me to do that, because I am not an operational wizard. I can
to.
sell to the cows come home. I can sell you anything. But on the operational side, and that stuff that we don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the one that called me out. And I'm grateful to her to this day that my email list is growing. I'm almost at 40. So I thank you for that. But yes, we can use, please tell us more about that, because that was like a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, so emails, I have a customer service background, right? So to me, your email list is so important because not only are you advertising or marketing to your people, it's also a great way for customer retention, right? You're showing them how much you care, you're showing them how you provide value. And so if you have more customer retention, that increases your sales, right? So I look at the email list as not only like a growing aspect, like an acquisition, customer client acquisition, but also customer client retention.
Yes. I think that's so important. And I definitely have seen a difference in my business now that I have that email list, because I now send out a newsletter.
Mhm.
Whereas before I was, I think I wasn't sending out a newsletter. But now it actually is holding me accountable to actually sit down and send out a newsletter and keep things and keep myself at the forefront of that email list
Mhm.
and keep AMI top of mind. So
Yep.
what would you, that's something that's super important. I think a lot of small business owners kind of struggle with
Mhm.
the importance of making sure that you're top of mind, even if the client isn't necessarily ready to buy. So what is some good example operational wise and just that you can think of as a good way to make sure you stay top of mind?
I'd probably say email marketing and newsletters.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably the best thing, because on social media we could post all day, but that doesn't mean our group of clients is going to see it, right?
Right.
So to me, that also, I'm a real big fan of like surveys or like client satisfaction forms or like how are we doing forms, because that provides you feedback to improve your business and grow. And then it also provides like a voice to your customer, right? So they feel like you're actually listening and value. Of course, we are valuing what they say, but we value whatever they're telling us.
So let's talk about the importance of surveys and really honing in on what your customers are saying.
Mhm.
How can a small business truly take advantage of that to get a pulse on what their clients are saying?
Yeah, so first you have to collect the information, right? So
Yeah.
that's a real big thing is to collect that. And then based on the feedback, you want to look at it to see like, is it actionable? Like, is
Mhm.
this something we can do? Or is there a reason we do not operate in this certain area, or a reason like we cannot do this process? But if it's something you can do, and this customer is experiencing having this bad experience, normally sometimes it's a bad experience,
Yeah.
this experience, you want to see how you can fix it, right? Because if they're having that experience, there's a big chance that someone else is having that experience and they're not telling you about it. So customer feedback does a lot to help the customers. And then also, I would say also your team members, right? So if your client or customer has a bad experience, that could filter down to your team member. Your team member has to deal with it. So we want to put things in place that makes that easier on everybody.
Okay. So, but what if you said something there that I want to pull on, because I think us as small business owners talk about the importance of a small business being open to feedback and surveying their clients. Um,
Mhm.
I have met small business owners that are not necessarily receptive to that and kind of just putting stuff out there and just hope it lands.
hmm I think I probably got that from my corporate experience, right? Because we asked our customers, like, how'd this go? How was your experience? So everywhere I worked, we always had some type of survey, right? And that's what makes your business better. Like, if you're not taking feedback, I don't know how you're going to improve your business, right? Especially from people that are purchasing products or services from you. You shouldn't be scared to get feedback, even negative. You should not be scared to get it. It just goes in its proper place. And then once you get that, depending on, like I said, if it's something you can do or something you can't do, you can put it on a roadmap. Maybe it's something you can't implement till next year. But feedback just in life, right? That's what we need to grow. So as a business owner, I take feedback. I'm not negative feedback. All right. I worked in customer service for a while on the phones. So, so, I've heard a lot. Um, and the good things that, some people were upset and then said, could y'all do this or make this better? I'm like, yeah, you're right. We should do that. So as a business owner, we should never be afraid of feedback.
So that's important, and I thank you. And I drilled down on that because that's something that's only I feel like that's really going to help you put yourself in a position to be able to scale and grow, which those are two conversations we're about to have.
Mm-hmm.
But I really let's talk that now, and then I can transition into my next thought that I'm having for you. So let's talk about acquisitions and truly scaling and growing your business as a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I think some think it's a myth. I have been around clients that have actually done it and helped them do it successfully. So it's not a myth. I've seen it. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of talk through that with us.
Yeah, I think the main thing is making sure everything's documented, right? Because if your processes and your systems are documented, it makes it more attractive for a company to acquire you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even franchise. I was talking to a beauty salon owner. She was like, I want to franchise this beauty salon. She had a great setup. Her name is great. Her logo, like her branding was awesome. And she was like, I want to do a franchise. I said, okay. Is anything in here documented? Do you have like, if you're especially in your franchising, you have to make sure like it's easy for these people to duplicate what you're doing.
Right.
And so I think that's so important. And I also think it's very important you have the right people on your team. And like I said, that just depends on like whatever your goals or your vision is for your business.
So speaking of goals and visions, I know you recently kind of made a pivot. So I really want you to kind of speak to us about who is your target audience now and what are you going after and how can we support you in that?
Yeah, so I did make a pivot. So right now, like I said, I'm looking for business owners or entrepreneurs that have a team of at least 5 people. And they've been in business at least 3 to 5 years. So that's where I think I can provide the most value for them. So that's what I'm looking for now.
Is there a certain revenue space?
So the revenue space is $1 million.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 to 5 employees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, sorry, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years in business,
Yes. How
right?
many
Yeah.
employees did you say?
Five.
Five
Five.
employees and at least $1 million in
Yeah.
revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what role would you want to take on in such an establishment if clients like that are listening?
So what I found is I would be a director of operations, right? Because that's that gap, right? That's that gap. Because I'm fractional,
There
they
you
call it
go.
fractional.
Yeah.
But there's a gap where businesses need that leadership and that management and that strategic planning, but they can't hire like a full-time director of operations. So I feel that gap, that helps them get their business to where they want to be. And then, of course, the goal is at some point, we part ways and they have to hire a full-time director of operations because their business has grown and scaled so much.
So that's great. And there's I think a lot of us are playing in this space of fractional. And I think, especially with your operational background and just your background in general, like that is a your dynamic part to add to a team.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who don't understand what that fractional or that person that comes in to fill in the gap, what does that mean to us, Shanté? Like, what is that? And
So fractional to me is, oh, I would hate to say part-time, but it's fractional to me is more like a contract executive you have on your team, right?
yes.
Um, they they're working for you, but they normally have their own business. So to me, I'm working really hard to make sure your business is doing well, because that's how I get paid. Like I'm not W-2. I'm not anything like that. Fractional, you do not have to pay our benefits. You don't have to pay our 401k. You don't have to worry about our vacation time. But normally, fractional executives, like as yourself, like we bring like a wealth of knowledge. And so, if you were to actually hire someone like full time for what we do, normally it's probably like 2 or 3 times what you're paying us, um, throughout the year.
Mhm. And I see a lot of people going into this fractional space.
Hmm.
So, and so let's talk about that. Like, I definitely notice a trend of it. I don't know if it's just like a lot of people just lately walking away from corporate, but I'm getting a good amount of phone calls about people being laid off,
Hmm.
just really wanting to talk through what their next steps are, um, and what that looks like. So, you being someone that came out of corporate, how did you make the decision? Okay, I'm going to go all in on my consulting company.
I had actually started my business before I came out of corporate.
Okay.
And I started it because I've always had a knack. Like if someone told me about their business, I could probably shoot off about 5 or 6 things in about 10 to 15 minutes, like they should be doing,
Mhm.
to make their business better or change their rates or like something I saw that could make their business more successful. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, I can go into business. So I actually started my business before, um, I ended my corporate journey. And so I was laid off from my job, and I had this business in my pocket, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, wait a minute, I got a business. And I was
Yep.
like, girl, if you don't work this business, like God told you to do it, took you forever to do it.
That
So that's why I'm here right now.
So let's talk about that. It took you forever to do it. That's
Hmm.
the story of many of us.
Hmm.
So tell us more about that story that it took you forever to do it.
I think it's because like we don't have the confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't have the confidence. And as we're working in our spaces in corporate, we're working in corporate. Like, so they're not there saying, oh, like, what are you really talented at? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're not doing that. They're
Mhm.
like, do this and get your check. And then you
Right.
do that. So I think it's a confidence thing. And I also think it's a different mindset, like I said. Like, no one's telling you what to do all the time. There's no like the procedures, you got to write that up.
Mhm.
Company culture, you got to figure that out on your own. So a lot of that is just us just not knowing how to start or when to start.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I love that. I
Hmm.
love that. But those are real questions that
Hmm.
people ask. And I'm grateful that you started, because you're definitely, like, I tell you this, and I think I'll tell you in public too. You're definitely on to something that is bigger and greater than yourself. and it's something that we need, and we need to see you do it, and not just do it, but do it well. So we
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to support you in your efforts and make sure you get the type of clientele you're looking for, because it's necessary. And as someone that came out of that commercial banking space, I don't know how many clients fail because they couldn't, man, they didn't have their ducks in a row when it came time to get the loan from the government when COVID hit. Just operational wise, they're not strong. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding the importance of that, just to maintain maintain a relationship of integrity with your bank and just with yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
owe that to yourself to really be strong in that operational space. So I am like, man, you just don't know. Like you're so needed. So I hope you're talking to all the bankers because
I have been meeting with bankers
okay,
lately.
good.
So, yes.
Because that is a space people, I don't know why operational, and I can honestly say if I didn't know y'all, my operations probably be trash too. But because I am so sales focused, right? So I
Mhm.
can honestly say that. But then understanding in out of what I've done for like the last 15 years,
Mhm.
how when opportunity comes, you want to be operationally sound because,
Mhm.
like you said, that paperwork, man, you learn a lot about a person when you start asking for paperwork and reading tax returns.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, like, what are your metrics? Like, so, I mean, a lot of new business owners say, "Oh, I want to do $1 million in 2 years." All right. What would you do
Mhm.
last year? I don't know. I'm like, if you don't have your numbers or your metrics, I don't know how you're going to get to this $1 million mark. Like, how are we tracking it? So yeah, I definitely agree that that is very important.
I love that. So how you can cast a vision, right? But
Mhm.
even the Bible tells us, let's go to the good word. Write the
Mm,
vision and make it
mm.
plain, right?
Write it.
Write
Yeah.
it. So if
Mhm.
we're not even writing, we can't make it plain.
That's true. I mean, and even in business, like, so if you have a revenue goal, like, what's your goals each quarter? Like, what are you doing each quarter? How are you holding yourself accountable to hit those sales goals each quarter, to hit that yearly revenue goal? So yeah, you definitely had to write it down, especially in business.
Man, say it
Mhm.
again. And I'm
Mhm.
so numbers driven. So I
Mhm.
probably drive myself crazy as much as I look at numbers. But that's how you, if you say you're gonna do something, that's how you're gonna achieve it.
Yeah.
You gotta write it out.
Mhm.
And Shantae, that is awesome. I thank you for dropping these nuggets on us. So as we come to as we're winding down, I know
Mhm.
you're sad because you're like,
I
Allison, how
know.
long is this gonna take us? And I'm like, girl, I was like, well, it's gonna flow. You're probably not even gonna realize that we're almost close to our hour. Like I told
Oh, I
you,
didn't. I'm kind of, yeah.
yeah, see, that's why I love, because we just be having conversations. We
Mhm.
don't look at the clock, we just have conversations. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's the fun part about They Say, is just being able to have an open dialogue with people truly that we don't always have access to.
Right.
Just, and that's why I'm very intentional about who I bring on here. And I'm grateful for everyone that has said yes. And I'm grateful that you said yes to me. Um, because I understand the importance of getting a seat at the table to
Mhm.
get certain information out, because I am a strong believer that knowledge is power. So I want to highlight those that are truly doing exceptional work. And I
Yeah.
just commend my sister over here. I'm excited she's in Houston. So how has your networking been here in Houston? Like, tell us about that, like jumping out here, getting new clients. What does that look like for you?
So it's better, thanks to you. I've joined the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce.
Uh-huh.
So I've been attending some of their events. I have some coming up in March. And my friend Sean has invited me to a BNI, like a networking group.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I am in that. So I am learning, because in corporate, they do this for us, kind of, right?
Yep.
Like, if I was working for a company, I say, I'm Shanté from such and such company, and everybody knows that company. But if I say I'm Shanté from SSD Consulting, that's a whole conversation because they don't know who I am.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing, networking. I've been meeting one-on-one with a lot of business owners. Even if they're not in my like target market, I've been meeting with them anyway,
Okay.
just to make those relationships and possibly have like collaborations.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for going to these different networking things. I was telling someone earlier today, it's all about intentional rooms and intentional connections.
Hmm.
No longer are we just collecting people to collect them. Like that doesn't no one any good. So just
Right.
really being strategic and making sure where you're at is mutually beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what 2024 represents. Um, being intentional and just making sure you're collaborating with people that is mutually beneficial and there's a mutual respect
Yeah, I
behind
agree.
what you do. And it's about collaboration and not competition. So I am
Mm-hmm.
here for this, and I am excited to just continue to see you soar and just take over and meet all the bankers.
All the bankers.
all the
If you're on here and you're a banker, please send me an inbox. We will
yes,
schedule a call.
yes, all the bankers you need to know, Shanté. Um, yes, they do. They need to know
Mhm.
you and spend some time with you because you will make their lives a lot easier.
Mhm.
The crazy story was um, during PPP, so many people didn't get it,
Mm.
and it was sad. But in the reality was a lot of people's they didn't have their taxes correctly done, and just the integrity piece of what the business was actually doing and
Right.
operational wise, a lot of people missed out on that because of those pieces. So
Mhm.
I can honestly say, as someone coming out of that space, that it is so important
Yeah.
to get your operations in together,
Right.
because it's only going to help you either succeed or fail, right, Shantae?
Yeah, well, it's definitely gonna help you succeed if you get together, and that's another thing, like, even when they request funding, like, everybody wants more money, but what are you doing with it in your business? Is it helping your business? Do you know where it's supposed to go in your business? Is this some funding you need to actually grow your business? Are you growing your team? Are you doing a new system? Or because your operations wasn't in place in the first place, now you're having cash flow issues. So even with like the funding piece, like why are you getting it? Where is it going? Like, where are you getting ready to use it for? Do we have the structure in place for this to be used wisely in your business?
She's speaking my language. I'm almost speechless.
That's rare.
It is. So you're speaking my language because it's like a breath. It's so refreshing.
Mhm.
I can tell you it's so refreshing because that just the integrity of that. I appreciate you for that.
Mhm.
So as we come to a close, um, tell us more about, I think we already talked about your target audience, but to
Mhm.
refresh our memory as we come to a close, just kind of let people know how to get in contact with you, who your ideal client is, and how can we follow you?
Yeah. So my ideal client would probably be like what we call a solopreneur. So they're trying to do it all. They're trying to go to all these networking events and run their business. They have a team of 5. They're growing or they're not growing because they're trying to do it all. So that would probably be my target person. They can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Shanté Smith-Daniels. I'm wearing green on LinkedIn, which
Yes.
is my favorite color and 2 of my kids' favorite colors. And then they can reach me on Instagram at ssd.consulting. Also on Facebook is SSD Consulting LLC. I do have a TikTok channel.
Are you dancing on there?
No, I'm
No.
not. I'm not that good at dancing. I'm be
Okay.
honest. I'm
I
not.
understand. Same here.
No, I'm not. But I'm on TikTok. I think it's Shanté, the biz strategist on TikTok.
Love it. So, Shantae, it's time. What is your they say, Shantae? This is like my favorite way to end the evening.
Yeah. So my they say is um they said that I would never be a director of operations. And here I am running a company where I serve as the director of operations for multiple entrepreneurs all over the world.
You-
But they said I wasn't qualified.
mm,
What they didn't know was I was more than qualified and I am very good at what I do.
Amen. And I second that. She is very good at what she does. So,
Mm,
at you guys, I just want to thank you for taking this Thursday or Wednesday. I have to remember what day it is.
it's
This
Wednesday.
time on a Wednesday evening to spend with Shantae and I. And I first, Shantae, thank you again. It has been my pleasure and my honor to just unpack operational success for you. So,
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
no problem. Like I said, I want to see people that are doing great work and are intentionally doing great work be amplified. And I think in this entrepreneur space, we need to know more Shantaes exist. So I'm
Right.
excited to be able to be a bridge for you to so people that can know that you exist and you're definitely here. And I definitely feel like she's a great resource. And every banker I know should call her.
Thank you. Call me today or tomorrow,
Yeah,
whenever.
send her a message. But yes, that will conclude our They Say for this Wednesday. I am excited. Next Wednesday, I have a very special guest. All my guests are special, but this one is personal. So I'm excited for next week to bring this guest on and really hear their perspective on what it's like in their world. So you guys have a great evening. And until next Wednesday, hey, take care.